Welcome to the Cobb Cole podcast, where attorneys are of no short supply and your values are met. I'm Jess, the Marketing and Culture Manager here at Cobb Cole, and today we're going to talk to Michael Woods, who is a land use attorney at Cobb Cole. Welcome, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. How you doing today?
Just okay.
I'm doing fantastic.
Okay, that's better.
It's a great day to live, work, and play in downtown DeLand.
So cheesy.
Thank you. That's my skill set.
Was that your line that you came in here with?
No.
There's
no.
more. Okay,
Probably.
Great.
Yeah.
Michael Woods is a part of our DeLand office. He works in the land use department. Also, X, Y, and Z. What else do you do at Cobb Cole? Other than build Lego toys and
I do have those.
bring rubber
I
chickens.
sometimes make irreverent signs for our sign copy.
Yes, you do. You do. You're infamous for the signs.
Yeah, and then I just kind of cause general chaos. We do have our Nerf gun fights, so I'm the armorer for
Really
Nerf
just
guns.
here for morale.
Pretty much, I'm the glue. Indispensable, but not really mandatory.
That
makes any sense.
That's not true at all.
Humble.
Debatable.
Yeah, in my own mind.
So you do land use at Cobb Cole, but you also do some government work, right?
Yeah, anything for city or county government kind of operations, usually permitting, licensing, kind of things of that nature. If there's a house that's going up or a setback that needs to be argued, that's probably in my wheelhouse. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Fun public hearings at night.
Ew.
Yeah.
All the arguments.
Yep.
All right, Mike. So what we're going to do first is kind of like a rapid fire version of the podcast.
Okay.
I'm really scaring everyone every time I say that. Don't run away.
Okay.
That's what this is for.
Okay.
Don't throw it at me either.
Okay.
So this is a very generous minute. Really, it's 2.
15, 20 seconds. I'll get you.
We're going to have 10 questions.
Oh, okay.
They're all questions that we're going to talk about later in the podcast and go
Okay.
more in depth. But this is sort of like the 60 seconds, the summary. If someone's listening in and they want to hear your first 60 seconds and they get real sick of you real fast, then they check out.
They've talked to me before.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is where we're going to entertain them.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Sure.
Again, don't throw this at me.
Now, to be clear, is it one toss for every question, or are we going to
No,
answer
we're
all the
going to answer
questions?
all the questions.
Thought that was a good thing for me to double check on.
Oh, man.
Okay, let's do it.
Spiraling out of control.
Never had it.
Where are you from?
I was born in Connecticut, in Hartford, Connecticut, during a blizzard.
Ew. Okay.
Yeah, and now I live in Florida,
Okay.
which is better.
Yes, we hope so. Why Cobb Cole?
Kind of growing up, I didn't have any experience with law, but I knew who Cobb Cole was. I always kind of thought that this would be a great place to come back and work for.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got out of law school, circumstances kind of worked out well, and I was able to kind of hit the ground running during the boom of the early 2000s, and haven't looked back.
Awesome. Why land use?
So a couple reasons. My dad was a real property appraiser
Okay.
growing up, so he would, particularly on like road projects, like the expansion of Saxon Boulevard, he was out there appraising, and I was holding the tape. And so that was my experience with like land and maps and plats. And then I did 2 summers in college working for Volusia County Environmental Management, and it was peak time of Osteen land discussions were going on. And I'd see the environmentalists go in and land developers go in and the county employees go in. And the only people who came out smiling were the lawyers. And it was Alan and it was Alex and a couple of the other folks that, kind of gotten to know over the years. And I was like, that sounds like a pretty good thing to do. And you get to know what's going on in the community.
Awesome. Fantastic. Who are your typical clients?
So I typically do probably larger scale land development, but I also really like kind of taking on the mom and pop property owners on their smaller things for setbacks, variances, and things of
All
that
the
nature.
chaos in the community.
Yeah, pretty much.
Residential development. What's the first step? We already ran out of time.
Oh,
We're really failing this one.
okay.
Go ahead.
First step, make sure you got a surveyor lined up, get under contract, have an idea about what you'd like to do. Ideally, if a professional development company, they've kind of looked in to see what they can and cannot do. They've probably reached out to us because of something we've already done.
Right.
And then having reasonable expectations. It's kind of a difficult
It's a joke sometimes.
difficult needle to thread sometimes.
Right. How can developers build responsibly in Volusia?
So there's a couple
Quick
of
answer.
quick answer. Looking for good amenities, try to help with the transportation network, help people get outdoors.
Biggest development roadblocks.
NIMBYism, still, trying to make sure that a project can fit in and it's changing the nature of the community. And people have been used to that vacant lot for 20 years, and now something's going in
Don't
there.
want to see anything change.
Yeah.
What's unique about West Volusia?
We're close enough to Beachside. We're close enough to Orlando. Still have some kind of rural areas there, and we got a great downtown. A couple great downtowns, actually.
What do we need that we don't have?
I'd really like to see more multi-generational housing.
Okay.
I think folks are going to be getting old, and parents are getting old, and giving some options so that they can kind of live close but have independence. And I don't know that we have a lot of that.
Okay, good answer. For the first meeting with your incoming clients, what should they expect?
Lots of chuckles and laughter. So a first meeting with
Mostly
us,
laughter.
we kind of come in, we see what development team they have, if they've got engineers already, if there's folks that we've worked with, identify the property, kind of walk through what they can do by right, and then figure out how does that align, does it not align, how much change do we need to do, and then figure out an action plan.
All right, cool. All right, so we're going to do a little deeper dive on some of those questions and get a little bit more about your background, a little bit more about your practice area.
Okay.
Try and help people find you. So tell me a little bit about your youth growing up. You said you were born in Connecticut, which I did not know.
Yeah.
Okay. How long were you in Connecticut?
About 6 months. So the
We
formative.
have so many attorneys that have said that today, that they were born somewhere and then immediately moved.
My formative years, the winter of 78.
Okay.
But no, we moved down. My grandparents had moved down because their in-laws had moved down here from New Hampshire and Connecticut. My grandma had worked at Stetson in the cafeteria, actually. My folks came down. My dad was a property appraiser. So I've lived in DeLand since 1978, midpoint, whenever they absconded and brought me down here. So, I still am a Yankee to some folks, but it's getting on to 48 years. So hopefully I'll be seen as a local at some point.
One day.
In time. Yeah.
I still think you're a _𝘬𝘓𝑰�te. So
Yeah.
it's okay.
But and that's beneficial. Like I've kind of seen the growth. When people talk to me about, by golly, I moved here 2 years ago and it's just gotten too crowded, and it's like, okay, calm down. Like,
I've seen so much more.
yeah. And the nice thing about DeLand is there's people who've been here for 70, 80 years.
Yeah.
Like there's, it's a very welcoming community, brings new folks in, but it's got a good history as well.
It does. I love it.
It's pretty nice.
So you grew up mostly in Florida, is
Yep.
what you're telling me. So where did you go to school? Were you Volusia local all along?
Yeah. So, moved to DeLand as a baby and stayed here, a couple different houses as we were growing up. Went to DeLand High, did the IB
Bulldogs.
program there. Yep.
Yeah.
Went off to UF for both undergrad and law school. Was an RA there in undergrad. Met my wife as an RA. Yep. And then when I was in law school, she was working for the Savannah Morning News in downtown Savannah. So that was for me to go visit on weekends, and it was a nice way to get out of Gainesville for the weekends. And
It's a fun place to be visiting. Yeah.
yeah, so it was good times. Like I was there for Danny Werfel winning a national championship. I was there for the basketball championships, and so it was a fun time to be in Gainesville. I thought we always won, and then.
Until recently.
So good double gator. Enjoy that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So why did you end up at Cobb Cole of all places? Where were you before this, or did you come straight from law school here?
So when I was in law school, again through a person I knew here at at DeLand High, she had been working for the general counsel's office at UF, and again I had no background in law. My handwriting was bad enough that everyone said you're a doctor or a lawyer, right? So I knew I was going to go to law school, but I got to work in the office for the general counsel. It was a really great office. Pam Bernard was the general counsel. She had huge expertise in Title IX law, NCAA, very active there, and she ran a great ship. It was a good family environment. Really enjoyed it. Thought I had a job lined up through my connections there to go work at FAU because one of my mentors had gone down there. hurricanes came through in 2004, budgets got frozen,
Oh,
and
man.
and I had thought I had that job lined up for like a year and a half, 2 years, and so I
Yikes.
hadn't participated in like interviews and stuff, and
Pivot.
it was a pivot. It was very busy time, so I put in an application that Cobb Cole was hiring, but this was back when people were you're working till 10 o'clock at night, in the boom times, so they didn't get back to me right away. I took a little brief
As we
detour.
do.
I took a brief detour down in Naples, and that was very short. And then I came back up right away. So,
Okay.
so it's been 21, 22 years now at Cobb Cole.
Did you end up in land use from the get-go, or
Yes.
did you? Okay.
Yeah, that was, I kind of had a sense of that, like with Dad and the property appraisal. Like he
Mhm.
would drive us around. And I do it to
Just
my
kind of
kids now. It's like I work
naturally.
on that project and
Yeah.
this project, and and I had good teachers. Like I had a couple great professors in law school, and then the experience at the county. Again, Steve Kintner was the director of environmental management then.
Mhm.
I think that was his formal title, but he just kind of was the glue that kind of pulled everything together. They were, the county at the time was adopting some pretty aggressive like environmental protections
Mhm.
that really served the community well for a really long time. So it was a really interesting place to kind of learn. But I was out doing sea turtle patrol, where we had to go rake the beach so that the sea
Yeah.
turtles during nesting could go out there. I built a fence out at 𝘊𝘰𝘮𝘀𝘨𝘢𝘊𝘭 Preserve out in Deltona.
Yep.
So it helped me kind of understand the county wide. So then when I came into Cobb Cole, I was working in our Daytona office for our first couple of years, and so I was the local in DeLand that was knowing both sides of the county, and it was more so different back then. It's still there still is a little bit of a different flavor for East versus West
Right.
Volusia, but it was nice to kind of be in both worlds.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Who are your usual clients? What do they look like?
That's a loaded question right there. All very kind and handsome with kind eyes.
Like me.
Yeah.
Stop it.
So I guess the full flavor is I really enjoy kind of what would be a smaller project for us, but I deal with property. So property is like the most important thing for anybody. And
Right.
so when you're dealing with your home in particular, I try not to take on too many like neighbor versus neighbor disputes. Those
A
are
little dicey.
the worst. But if someone's trying to add on a shed, or oftentimes they've done something without a permit, they're kind of in trouble. It's kind of nice to try to unpack that. There's a lot of stuff that I don't necessarily know that I want people to have a lawyer to do it. Again, this is for the mom and pops.
Yeah.
But God help them if they don't. They can get very sideways very quickly.
Yeah.
So even just kind of having that initial conversation, saying, okay, you've got this. This is what you can do to move forward, or I can help you in a limited role. Like I still like doing that a lot. But the bread and butter is probably new developments, trying to work through housing. Despite what people say, people are still coming to Florida, and we need to find a place for them.
Right.
I like working on the new projects that kind of give us, good activities, good amenities. On the same side, trying to find a place for affordable housing. I don't do that's not my regular wheelhouse, but from a citizen's perspective, trying to keep aware
priority,
of
yeah.
availability
Yeah.
and housing pricing, and trying to find a solution to that. I don't have all the answers, but
Right.
that's always at the top of my mind. Yeah.
Especially for us to live here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the burning question of the hour for you is what to do when you're considering residential development. What are some initial steps that you might take?
Yeah. So if you're coming in to develop a piece of property, it's really a matter of managing your resources up front, getting your team lined up, and getting the people to do the work up front. Whether that's environmental studies, whether it's even just getting a surveyor can take 6-8 weeks just for them to be able to have the time to meet with you to then do
Right.
the work. Bringing on the right engineers. We go and have an initial meeting with the staff, whatever jurisdiction we're in, kind of tell them the concept of what we're working with, identify trouble spots or where we think there could be difficulty or we need to kind of address and provide more attention or more detail. And then just kind of doing the drafting, setting up the meetings, meeting with neighbors on occasion, but primarily just getting ready for the public hearings.
Okay.
So we try to offer a soup to nuts, like, okay, here's our experience on these last 5 projects in the area. You need to be aware of this. Here's the neighborhood. Here's what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the concern of the general public. Oftentimes we'll hear concerns about schools,
Right.
and capacity, and
Mhm.
kind of talking through, saying, hey, we have the meetings with the school board planners. Here's how they handle this. Getting ahead of that, being aware of kind of stormwater. That's been a huge issue
big
for
one.
us.
Mm-hmm.
Now what a lot of folks don't want to necessarily hear is that a lot of the stormwater problems were coming from older subdivisions that didn't necessarily
Right.
have engineered stormwater ponds. But that's, at
Wasn't
the end
always
of the
a part of the
day,
plan.
and you phrase that and say, okay, well, here's how the new project works and here's how it works better.
Right.
Or here's the mistake that people made in the 80s.
Mhm.
We don't do that anymore. And here's how we address existing problems, that kind of thing. Problem solving
Yes.
is really that's where the work comes in. Is like,
Connecting all the dots for
Yeah.
everyone, I think.
Yeah, I like
for
that.
sure. As someone that lives in Volusia County, how can a developer make responsible choices for future projects?
I think kind of recognizing that, this decision, a lot of our developer clients stay and do a lot of work within the area. I think DeLand, they like working within the DeLand or greater West Volusia area.
Right.
Kind of being respectful of the neighbors. I think you get a lot more done with honey rather than vinegar.
Yep.
We are not a bulldog practice where this is how it's going to be. It's here's a problem, here's an issue. If you've got a better solution than what we propose,
Let's
we're
talk
happy to
about
hear it.
Yeah.
But here are the benchmarks that we have to hit to be able to make sure that the project can work. Yeah.
Awesome. What are some of the most common obstacles in residential development, or some of the most recent obstacles?
I mean, ultimately is, trying to find out if your project is in keeping with the surrounding property. And I think I tell a lot of people get very used to living next to a vacant lot. Of course, they also lived on property that was once a vacant lot to somebody else.
Yep.
And, people don't always necessarily want to hear that, but that is kind of the truth. There's a lot of established communities that weren't around when I was a kid. You can point to, oh, that was where the high school kids hung out and partied on the weekends, but your house is there now,
Yep.
And DeLand has experienced, well, all of West Volusia has experienced growth. Again, the proximity to being Seminole County, Orange County, two Sunrail stations in West Volusia. That's really nice.
One's right down the street from me.
Yeah, looking forward
It's very fun.
to making that real feasible and practical for everybody.
What is unique about development in West Volusia? What makes it different in our area?
So I think, yeah, so the uniqueness on kind of the west side and the balance and the tension is we've got a lot of small town charm.
Yes, we do.
DeLand has a small town charm that they're very kind of protective of to not disrupt it, but everyone wants to come in and experience that. And you can kind of contrast that with some of the patterns in Sanford, because Sanford also has a small town charm, but they had some really tough economic decline that was pretty severe. And so they were maybe less precious about, and they were like, all issues, all opportunities, let's try to fix this because we're in a bad way. Whereas DeLand never really got to that level.
Right.
So as a result, Sanford kind of swung big, and they're a little bit bigger than what our downtown is in DeLand.
Yes.
But you can also learn from them and kind of get good ideas there. Deltona was developed as a bedroom community by the Mackle brothers, where every road kind of crosses through. And trying to put in infrastructure there in a cost-effective way is challenging.
For sure.
I mean, even just kind of central water and sewer, or sewer mainly is the big challenge, and trying to get a diversified commercial base there. Orange City is in between there. They've got some historic structures. They have a major roadway running through the heart of their town. So trying to, Stetson is in downtown DeLand, and kind of their policies kept FDOT from widening the roadway back in the day. And that impacts it. It's like the geography informs the town. And just trying to find a place for everyone to go.
As a Volusia local, what is something that you think the area needs that we don't necessarily have already?
So two things kind of come to mind with that.
Mhm.
I really thought coming after the pandemic that there would be a bigger focus on open air for our construction and our housing. And we
Okay.
have parks, and that's all very well and good.
Right.
And maybe there is a more premium value put onto that. But I think you saw some changes in commercial kind of design. Like, the best example is like the Chick-fil-A's kind of shrinking their stores
Yes.
and building
Moving
towards like
towards the drive-throughs.
the
Yeah.
drive-throughs and the DoorDashes
Yep.
and the whatnot. And I just kind of thought that might have come in a little bit more for residential.
Right.
I really look at the affordable housing issue. I look at the generation that's 10 or 15 years younger than me, and kind of their earnings and income and how do they qualify for like a mortgage, and trying to figure out how does that work moving forward. And I kind of think we need to be looking at some multi-generational housing where maybe not like how they did it up north back when my parents were growing up, where grandma and grandpa are on the ground floor, the young college graduates
Just
in the
stack
basement,
them in.
and then on the 3-story walk-ups,
Yep.
But having grandma and grandpa living in the house, but they don't want to lose their homestead exemption. So how do you allow them to keep their ownership
Right.
and independence so that if they don't want to deal with mom and dad and the kids, they don't have to,
They have their own space still.
but to kind of give some of that leverage. So like a multi-generational within a house, whether it's a 2-story or
Interesting.
and we've had some accessory dwelling units kind of coming back, and that's been really nice. But those are harder to put in than you think, even with some of the advancements. So trying to blend generational family is good. I'd like to see that.
And did you have a second one?
Trying to find out where the cars go, and it's less about the
Yes.
transportation network. It's as we deal, all these houses kind of come in, and the common complaint is, oh, it's all the small lots, right? Because we build differently. There's different things that are required. I can go into that forever. But at the end of the day, it's, I live in an old house that at one point in time, they had 6 kids being raised in that house, and it's under 2,000 square feet. But what they did was the kids stayed outdoors all day, and then they slept in the attic. They had an attic fan.
It's crazy.
But back then, each household had like a car, maybe 2.
Right.
Now, particularly as the kids stay in their houses longer, each household has 3 to 4 cars.
And then they leave, and then they come back.
And just kind of configuring them like Tetris on the lot. I think that is truly what people complain about in the subdivisions is either cars parking on the street because we haven't really planned for that,
Yep.
or parking on the grass, and it's and I don't have an answer for that because everyone's got a car. Maybe 15 years from now everything's self-driving and it doesn't that's changed, but that's probably the biggest challenge. And then even with, when houses are already established, how many people have converted their garages to the playroom, to the,
Right.
the man cave? That
Using
causes a
layout.
challenge too.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Interesting. So, what should a potential client or new client expect in a initial meeting with you?
So we will go through and kind of give a rough estimate of the timeline involved, recommendations for who we need to speak with, or development team partners, engineers, surveyors, stuff like that. We try to, Mark Watts kind of says we kind of shave off the rough edges on projects. Particularly if you're not familiar with our local area. In that first meeting, it's like, okay, that idea is not going to work. Let us lead you into what may be more feasible for this area.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, no one wants to spend their time. We don't want to rile up the neighbors. We don't want to rile up the staff and make a problem if it's dead on arrival. So trying to kind of figure that out and say, okay, here's what you'd like to do. Here's how you kind of deliver it. And let's give an estimate as to how long that'll take.
And where can they meet you? Online, in person? Do you do Zoom? Do you do phone calls?
We do everything. It's good at some point in the process to get out onto the property and kind of see what that looks like and kind of walk the property.
Okay.
But most of the initial calls are either phone calls or Zoom or Teams, and those work out pretty well. A lot of the work is done, digitally and just emailing PDFs of things to get stuff underway. So it's we'll work with however it's easiest for them to deal with.
Perfect. What do you think sets Cobb Cole aside from other competitors, specifically in our land use department?
I think the depth and breadth of what we offer. I mean, one, we've got a large department, particularly for a firm of our size, or community of our size.
Yep.
So everything from environmental to association work to the real estate side to the permitting, we can do it all in-house. We've been around for over 100 years as a firm, but even the members here, we're all old and gray now. It's been kind of scary to see me climb up the letterhead over these years. I still like to think of myself as being the young,
You are.
yeah, young at heart anyway. But like we have the experience with all the fun projects, the big projects, the transformative projects.
Yes.
And the education that we received through that. Like those were hard learned kind of things. And I think we're able to kind of help guide policy to make suggestions. Because again, everybody, for Cobb Cole, we all live here. We want the community to succeed. We want it to be vibrant, and we want to protect it too. And so identifying, what is possible versus what we should be striving for, I mean, if you want to see a particular thing and you're not seeing it, the exercise I go through is tell me what you like to see, show me a neighborhood that you like, and let's go through and I'll tell you why I can't do it that way. And then you ask the question, why?
Yeah.
How did we get to where we are now?
Right.
And that's a whole other podcast we can talk through. I have very strong feelings on that. But there's a reason for everything there, and we've got kind of the institutional knowledge, and that is just so invaluable. I mean, there's been projects where, we were trying to find it, there was no record of an easement, and we knew the guy to call at the city who'd been working there for since the 1960s. This is going back a few years. And he's like, yeah, you don't want to dig there. There's a big old gas line there. And it was in an intersection of one of the roads. And no one knew it except this one guy. And we knew to say,
but you knew the guy to call.
Before we do anything, let's call Jerry. And it was a good thing we did.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
Could have been catastrophic.
Mm-hmm.
So one last question for you.
Uh-oh.
It's nothing bad. So how would someone proceed to contacting you or your team?
I do like Morse code.
Great.
I do. I like, spy movies are really fun, so dead drops are good. Well, if folks want to contact us at Cobb Cole, we're available online, email, phone. I'm sure there's QR codes around of us too.
Somewhere out there.
Yeah. If you just call out into the darkness, I can show up at some point. We're available.
That's how we're in.
All right. Send up the bat signal.
Oh my, are you another one that doesn't know the phone number, Woods?
It's 1-386-736-7700.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Am I free to go now?
You being here. Yeah. If you're interested in hearing more about land use services at Cobb Cole, please contact us at 386-255-8171. We proudly serve all of Volusia and beyond with offices in Daytona Beach and DeLand. Cobb Cole is a multi-lawyer firm specializing in practice areas from land use to employment law. Cobb Cole, your legal compass.
The information you obtain from this podcast is not, nor is it intended to be, legal advice. You should consult an attorney for advice regarding your individual situation. We invite you to contact us and welcome your calls, letters, and electronic mail. Contacting us does not create an attorney-client relationship. Please do not send any confidential information to us until such time as an attorney-client relationship has been established.